Serial killers have become a subject of interest in the United States of America for some time. Several have been caught after causing all kinds of death and destruction across the country. David Berkowitz, known as the Son of Sam, Ed Kemper, the co-ed killer, Eileen Wuornos, the Damsel of Death, John Allen Muhammad, the Beltway Sniper, Ted Bundy, who we all know as the Campus Killer. These are all names that Americans will know because their depravity is etched into our memories. But what if I told you there are serial killers who have never been caught? It could have been that they retired, perhaps they died, or even more frighteningly, maybe they just changed their method of operation. Perhaps they're still out there, still bringing misery to victims everywhere. While there are many more, here are 10 American serial killers that have never been caught. Let's talk about it. Up first is the Phantom of Texarkana. This serial killer attacked 8 victims between Texas and Arkansas, murdering 5 in 1946 through many different methods. Despite an extensive investigation, he was never caught. Though several suspects were interrogated, they were all cleared. This slayer seemingly just stopped, and no one was ever identified, and the case remains open. The I-70 killer. He is an unidentified suspect who murdered 6 women not far from Interstate 70 from across several states. 6 women were identified as victims in 1992, but some believe he never stopped killing and that similar slayings in Texas and Indiana are related. One woman who survived the ordeal gave a description of him, but nothing came of it. In 2021, authorities in Indiana said there was a person of interest, but nothing has materialized since. The Cleveland Torso Murderer. In the Cleveland neighborhood of Kingsbury, 13 victims, including several John Does, were found brutally mutilated between 1938 to 1942, caused such a stir that Eliot Ness, yes, the same one who brought down Al Capone, instituted some controversial methods of solving the crimes, which including burning down a shanty town where he thought the killer operated. This would prove fruitless as the killer began mocking him with postcards shortly thereafter. This would lead to Ness's downfall as an investigator, and the killer was never caught. One conspiracy theory about this killer was that he was the actual killer of Elizabeth Short, aka the Black Dahlia. That has never been proven, but the Cleveland Torso Murderer has affected Ohio so much that they have a museum display about the slayings at the Police Museum in Cleveland. The Honolulu Strangler. 5 victims were slain between 1985 and 1986. The local police worked with the FBI and the Green River Task Force, with some thinking he was connected to the slayings in California. This was proven false later, and the police did arrest a suspect, but a witness refused to identify him. The suspect died in 2003, and arrest has never been made, leaving the case wide open. Boy, that's a scary thought right there in paradise. The Maine South Woodman. Between 2002 and 2004, the remains of 3 mothers were found in Worcester, Massachusetts. 2 further women were identified as potential victims. The police mounted an extensive investigation and arrested a suspect named Alex Skinsey for unrelated crimes, but despite the attempt to connect him to the killings, they weren't able to. Thus, it is possible that the woodsman is still out there stalking the citizens of the great state of Massachusetts. The Chicago Strangler. An organization called the Murder Accountability Project, or MAP, identified over 50 victims who were killed by strangulation from 1999 to 2018. Despite public pressure, Chicago PD refuses to open an investigation, meaning that this monster could still be out there targeting victims in the Washington Park and Garfield Park areas. No new developments have been made. The West Mesa Bone Collector. In 2009, the bodies of 11 women were found in New Mexico close to Albuquerque. After an investigation, it was determined that the identified women were murdered between 2001 and 2005. Some were teenagers, some were middle-aged. While several suspects were investigated, none have been confirmed to be this killer, and it is possible that he is still out there killing more victims who we just haven't found yet. The Axeman of New Orleans. From 1918 to 1919, a mysterious man assaulted 12 people in New Orleans, killing 6. He would target Italian immigrants who were working in jazz clubs, and despite receiving a taunting letter, the police never caught him. Some think he was tied to other killers, while some think he was a jealous musician. Whatever the case, he vanished just as quickly as he appeared in the New Orleans light. The Freeway Phantom. In 1971 and 1972, a serial killer murdered 6 young African American girls in the Washington, D.C. area. Several suspects, like many of them, were investigated, but all denied involvement in the slayings and none were arrested. These poor girls have not received justice to this day. The Miami Strangler. Between 1964 to 1979, white women were found smothered to death in downtown Miami. Some say the victim count is even higher. While a suspect was identified, he was never arrested, and the case has gone cold in the state of Florida. To be honest, a lot of these cases were incredibly detailed and difficult to trim down to just a paragraph or two. Let me know if you would like me to do a dedicated video on any of these cases and their victims, or if you want a follow up with more unidentified killers. Let me know in the comment section below. If you know anything about these killings, please contact the authorities or Crime Stoppers. I hope you liked this video. If so, be sure to like, share, and subscribe here at StudioJake After Dark. And don't forget, you can support me on my locals community. The link is in the description. And don't forget to ask, what happens when you turn out the lights?